Good afternoon, everyone. Yes, as Marlene said, today I will talk about vulnerable youth in Kazakhstan who do not study and work. Actually, after having several terrorist attacks around 2010, the government started to concern about the profile of those who were involved in such dire issues. And it was found, unfortunately, that many of them were young people, and usually they didn't have education or had very low level of education, and they regularly didn't have any job at the time when they were involved in these such issues. So all these, let's say patterns, they all describe this type of vulnerable youth. So vulnerable youth as Marina and Idea. So to be more practical and clearer, let me start with young two fellows from southern Kazakhstan. The first one is Marina. She is from Kazakhstan region. Currently, she is 18 years old mother, and unfortunately, after having conflict with her teacher, she dropped out from her vocational school, and today she is staying as a housekeeper. Another one is Ibek, because his family was struggling to get by. He didn't continue his further education and had to work. So working here and there, he didn't have a stable job, and unfortunately, for many months, he's unable to find any kind of job. And internationally, these type of young people are recognized as need indicator in international labor market setting. So the need stands for not in employment, education, or training. Actually, this phenomenon, indicator was designed by International Labor Force Organization, which is well known. So the organization gives the following description of the need indicator, where it says young people who are aged from 15 to 29, in many countries it's 24, who are not employed and haven't received any education or training preceding 4 weeks the survey. So the survey is labor force survey, the survey that follows labor organizations methodology. Several studies define major subgroups of these need youth. The majority of them are unemployed ones, so differing from one to another countries, they compose the major part of this need youth. Another subgroup is young mothers and disabled ones, voluntarily need, so that they themselves do not wish to study or work. And another group is family carers. So there might be another, actually theoretically, other subgroups differing from one country to another. But fortunately, Kazakhstan is actually doing well comparing to its neighboring countries, like Tajikistan, for example. The need rate shows 42%, whereas OECD, US, and Russia shows 14% of need use. So, but in Kazakhstan, it's 9.5%. However, there is another big issue. The southern parts of Kazakhstan are doing very poor in terms of having need rate. So for southern regions, I define actually Almaty, Zhangbalı region, South Kazakhstan region, Kazlorda, and Mangistau regions. You may, from the percentage, you may see that still 9% or having 16% is not such a big deal. However, if we compare these indicators with the past past 5 years, yes, the indicator has been increasing from 9 to 16, from 5 to 9. So the issue has growing its tendency. So I said there is a growing tendency, and the long-term statistics show that from 2001 till 2011, the need rate was decreasing, and actually this was highly linked with the shrinking number of unemployed. Just I have said that unemployed youth, they compose the major part of those needs. However, starting from 2012, the gap is increasing, as well as the need rate is also increasing. So meaning that more and more youth are leaving education and employment system in Kazakhstan. So I will go deeper with southern regions. Actually, southern regions, in urban settings in southern regions show higher need rate comparing to rural ones, but still, rural and both rural and urban areas show high rate of need in southern Kazakhstan. So my research question refers to what are the factors influencing the growth of need in urban areas in southern regions of Kazakhstan. Primarily, there are three main factors. The first one is black market that composes several components. The first one is, as we see from the map, many young people, some part of young people, they are involved in informal labor market. Meaning that, for example, in Almaty region, you see 37%, meaning that over the 1/3 of young people, they are involved in the informal sector, meaning that they have no labor contract and they have no right to annual paid leave. Comparing to their peers, they typically earn less and unstable income. And of course, because they do not have labor contract, they have no access to basic labor protections. In addition to this, there is another group of self-employed youth. As you see, almost second even young man or woman is involved in self-employed sector. And unfortunately, many of those self-employed enterprises come unregistered. And because many of them run low and middle income businesses, they usually do not engage enough employees on a continuous basis, meaning that there is a risk that they earn they have lower benefits from their businesses. And studies also find that many of those self-employed young people come from low-income families. So studies also show that the gap between being unemployed and being in the informal or self-employed sector is so thin, so meaning that somehow they could be, those youth who are in the informal and self-employed sector, they could be almost unemployed. Another important factor is there is growing tendency of urban migration. More and more youth are living, they prefer cities to rural areas. There are mainly two factors. The first factor is they seek for better education opportunities, because all the universities in southern regions, they are in cities, and about 90% of vocational schools, they are also in cities. So there is a reasonable factor that they leave rural areas and go to urban, and mostly they prefer stay there. And of course, they seek for better employment opportunities in cities. Another important factor is low education level. Unfortunately, over than half years of young people in southern regions end up with secondary education or vocational training. So in Almaty region, as you see, only 30% of young people have higher education. In addition to this, we can see that since Kazakhstan got its independence, over than 1 million Kazakhs they came back and returned to the country, and 80% of them, meaning that 800,000 people, they were settled in only in these 5 regions, and only 10% of them had higher education. So this could be another overlapping factor that contributes to the low-level education among youth in southern regions. So my message today is every 6 men, mostly women, is struggling to be involved in the education sector and employment. And there are 3 main factors that I mentioned. Because many of them are involved in informal and self-employment sectors, many of them have low level of education, and there is a growing tendency of urban migration in southern regions. What do I propose? I propose for the government to reveal the main target groups of these need rates, because today we do not know how many percentage refer to disabled young people, how many percentage of them are young mothers, how many of them are family carers. So it revealing these target groups will make it to establish better policies for each subgroup. Another two recommendations go for, actually I have done another research on need, and there are several studies, and they find actually that these need youth who stay out of education and employment system, they are not informed or poorly informed about current available opportunities on education or employment. So I do believe if local employment departments or education institutions will strengthen their information provision, especially in the internet platform, it would somehow provide young people more opportunities to apply, to work for, or to study for. And the last recommendation is studies also find that these need youth, they really lack the soft and hard skills. So I believe if local NGOs will somehow assist to strengthen their skills, it would help to save them sustain this competitive labor market. So, hoping that my research somehow will help to decrease the number of need in southern regions. And thank you for your attention very much.